What have you had to do to conserve water, either by law or by choice?
Specifically at home in Pasadena, which is near LA, the drought hits pretty hard. And so, especially within neighborhoods, you've got a balance between those two sides of it. So there are legal precedents that say, how much you can water, how much water you can use per day. And especially when you're watering your lawn and you're doing that more in a publicly viewable way, there's this sort of peer pressure to sort of follow the law. So it's kind of a combination of both aspects brought up there. Within the home, though, that's more of the personal initiative to get things done. So it comes down to those little moments, like when you're, brushing your teeth, when you're cleaning dishes, washing your clothes, anything like that. In those moments, you have to realize how much water you're using and at what point it crosses the line between necessity and then excess.
How has the lifestyle change impacted your life?
You mean in like reducing the water usage?
Yeah,
Okay.
How is it negatively or positively impacted it?
In a positive sense, it's definitely made me more aware of the way that I use water, whether that comes down to like really minor stuff like cooking, cleaning my dishes, things like that, where you're not usually thinking about it. You're just kind of focused on what's going to come out of that. So in that sense, it's made me more aware of every one of my actions. In a negative sense, though, it does make life a little more difficult, and that's not necessarily something to complain about, but it's just something that you become aware about, and makes you think about places where they're forced to live with less water.
Okay, so what's your name and where are you from?
My name's Jim Morrissey. I'm from Walnut Creek, California, so that's the East Bay. And the ways that laws have impacted my life with water, I think one of the bigger ones was the fact that during the drought we were required to meet certain minimums on the water we use, and we were required to use certain nozzles when doing things like watering our garden or our cars. We actually let our lawn die. Beyond that, we did short showers, obviously, but we also enacted a don't flush until you dump rule, which is kind of self-explanatory and maybe a little bit disgusting. So I'm glad that the drought is over, personally.
And then how has that lifestyle change impacted your life at all?
So
Maybe in
besides,
retrospect.
the smell, we used to have a nice grass lawn. We don't anymore. I really don't care too much, though. I'm a guy, so I don't have long hair, so short showers aren't that big of a deal. I'm a Californian. It's just the way I live.
What is your name and where are you from?
My name is Logan Cohn, and I'm from Sacramento, California.
Alright, Logan, what have you had to do to conserve water either by law or by choice in Sacramento?
So my parents did a lot of stuff to help conserve water. So they ripped out the lawn in our front yard and replaced it with a lot of drought-tolerant plants. So that really reduced the amount of watering in the front yard, because the front yard of our house especially is just baked in the sun all day. And the other thing that they did is my dad actually he figured out a way to route the drainage from our kitchen sink that would run down to these rain barrels. So like we had rain barrels to catch rain whenever it did rain, which was not very often, but we could also wash just like regular dirty water, like not like really soapy water, but just like if you had like ice cubes or something, you just like throw it in the sink or whatever, and then it would melt and it would run down to these rain barrels, which are actually themselves put on which you use to like water other plants in our yard. So that's probably the biggest things that they did.
And how did that impact your life personally, like just lifestyle-wise, living that way?
I mean, it's not that big of a deal with like you have like a glass of water or something and you finish it halfway and you're like oh, just throw it, like in the sink or whatever. If you have ice cubes, just like if you just have like, I don't know, it's just not that big of a deal to it only causes you like a second of thought or two to throw your ice cubes or whatever in the sink.
Fair enough.